Okay.
All right, well, we will get this meeting rolling. So thank you everybody for being here today. Back at the Pillar Meetings for Inclusive Culture. So again, welcome. It's been a little bit since we were all together. Excited to get back together and pick up where we left off and get rolling. So want to do a roll call. So Director Johnston, are you here? Okay, sir.
Present.
Sarah Lawson.
Present.
Here, thank you. Superintendent Carpenter.
Here.
And Ian is not here, is that correct? He wasn't able to make it today?
Correct.
Okay. Kelly Hayes is here, I believe. Hello, Kelly. Lisa, you are here, obviously. Thank you very much. And I think that's it. I didn't miss anybody, did I?
Jason. Jason Hobson. Nope.
He's coming.
Right.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you. So again, just to kick off as we do when we start these meetings, just revisiting our mission is to equip every student with the knowledge and skills necessary to be resourceful and successful. Still continues to be the mission vision within the Estacada School District. Vision again is by 2030, the Estacada School District, backed by a strong collaborative organizational culture, leads the state of Oregon in graduation rates and student success, building on a foundation of fully engaged community and families, up-to-date buildings and facilities, and sustainable finances and accountability. Estacada schools are a focal point of community pride and advancement. And of course, our values are those three: the inspire, the engage, and achieve. So, and standards of excellence, of course, have remained the same, but always good to revisit them. So collaboration, respect, consistent, innovative, empathy, and perseverance. So with that, let's jump into the actual agenda. So I will kick it to Director Johnston for any board member updates that he has.
You know, nothing specific for the group. Just excited to be here and make sure we can continue to see the pillar move forward. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm in the same boat. So nothing specific to share as far as the pillar goes. I'm excited that school is back. Students are back. Employees are back. Activities are back. It's so incredible to be able to go to the activities within our school district, to see all the students, see all the families, see the extended families that are able to participate in these activities that really do work to shape the lives and the futures of our students. So that is not overstated. That is actually a fact. So excited to have all of these things going now. So with that, I'll pass it over to Superintendent Carpenter for his update if he has one.
Well, thank you, Chair Idell and Director Johnston for leading this pillar as we work towards executing the ultimate goals of our strategic plan, specifically focused here on building that culture of excellence. And excited for our team to share its 30-day reports, especially as we kick off the school year this year. You know, we're going to be focused in this pillar committee meeting on student engagement and making sure that the Estacada School District is a welcoming place for all students who attend. This is also going to be focused on building that culture of excellence. We want to be that best place to work environment. And I'm just so excited again as we start this school year that this pillar is the place for our school district to audit and continually improve so that we can recruit and retain some of the best talent as we educate our children. And then last but not least, we are committed to creating that culture of service excellence. And what can our great leaders and employees expect in terms of service from the district office and administration? And so as we become supporters and servers to our leaders, ultimately that trickles into high results into the classroom. So just refreshing our why as we have this great pillar meeting this evening. And then one great piece of data I'd love to share. The school district report card was just released last week. out there for the world to see. So if you might be a prospective parent who is watching this on YouTube this evening or later on, or if you're a parent who's just interested in how your school district compares with other school districts, I'm pleased to share that the Estacada School District is reporting a 91% on-time graduation rate. That's our highest ever and our highest ever achieved. But two other notes that I think are important as we continue to monitor and close gaps. Our Hispanic and Latino on-time graduation rate is 87%, its highest ever, as well as our students who are experiencing educational services through disabilities. That on-time graduation rate was 89%. To put that into perspective, in 2018-19, that was 68%. In 2017-18, that was 38%. So what we've done to close the gap and to include all children inside our school district is commendable. And it took an entire school district organization to close this gap. And I'm so proud to share that, not only to this committee, but to the community at large who participates in this great pillar work. So we talk about that student engagement, a welcoming place for all students. This is evidence that the Estacada School District is well on its way to be achieving that premier vision that Chair Rydell talked about in this opening. So that's your superintendent report today.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. Going to go next to the Pillar Leader dashboard updates. And so on my list, it lists Lisa first. So we'll start there.
And I'm going to hand it right over to Kelly because we have that backwards. But thanks, Ken, or Chair Rydell, for thinking of me.
Okay.
All right, Kelly.
All right, here we go. So as talked about, our mission here is to be that premier school district. And on the way to that, we roll out our district services survey and our employee engagement survey. And one of the wins that we're really excited to share right now is that those surveys are now closed. Both of them have closed on October 8th, and our scores are being rolled out with leaders next week on the 19th. Some exciting numbers that we want to share is that we had 100% participation of staff in our district services survey. So this is a survey that rolls out to the different departments and building leaders and how our services to one another. So in regards to like, how is human resources serving Rivermill, and how is student services supporting payroll, and so on and so forth. And so it's really exciting to hear from all of our leaders, because then we can go collectively together, use that feedback to look, how can we improve and how can we celebrate our wins in that area. We also had in the employee engagement survey, that one is also closed now, and we have 280 responses, which is just incredible to have that many responses. It blows last year's number out of the water. Out of that, we have 127 comments on things that are working well, 109 comments on things that could be improved, and 126 shout outs from staff. These are important because these are numbers where people who took the time to really comment what they thought was working well, what could be improved, and then shout it out. Of the shout outs, most of them included more than one person. So there are so many shout outs that we're excited to bring together. And after our rollout next week and at our next pillar meeting, we'll have a little bit more deeper dive into what those numbers look like. But we want to let our leaders roll those numbers back out to their team and celebrate those wins. So those are just some high level numbers for us today. As we look at our scores in student engagement, the preliminary scores look to be above our spring numbers. And we have about half of our students who have taken the student engagement survey so far. We do have about another week on that, and our principals are continuously pushing that out to students and allowing time during the day for students to take that survey. And so we'll get numbers back. That one closes October 19th. And then we'll get numbers back from that, and our buildings will be able to roll that out as well. And our inclusive practices level goal, so that one there at the elementary level again is that 80% of students supported by special education will spend 80% or more of their time in the gen ed setting. We're well on our way for that, and an exciting win in that area in the last 30 days is that our student service specialists have been using a report that Jason's going to dive into a little bit more, and I hope that he can join us in time for that. But they're using that to track that data in real time And so we can see where students are spending their time on a week-to-week basis. And if that's not that 80%, we can look right away as to why that's happening or why that's not happening and make the adjustments as we go. So those are a couple of wins that we wanted to share in those categories.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna move on to Pillar Health if no one has any questions or input on our wins. Okay, great, so.
Not any questions. I did want to say that that's definitely an engaged staff. 100% participation, amazing job.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was really exciting to open up those numbers and see how many people really participated this year. It felt good after last year being virtual, not virtual, and it's good to see. So on Pillar Health, so our last 30 days, our rounding schedules have been implemented. A common theme in the leadership is now cascading the plans, the strategic action plans throughout and down through the organization. So our principals have leadership teams who are now rounding and cascading communications with other staff members. Our department leaders are rounding with their leads who are now cascading information throughout. So it's going deeper and it's really nice to see. You can see the collaboration working, the respect at all levels. It's been great. One of the things we wanted to point out was our middle school principal Hargrave. One of his strategic actions and under employee engagement, Mr. Hargrave has 5 strategic action plans, which is huge. And his 5th one is consult staff on the direction which affect their job by providing time to communicate, prepare, and collaborate between paraeducators, teachers, staff, and specialists. So what he's doing now is he's providing that time so they can all have collaboration across the grade levels and cross content across the roles. Entire schedule built on maximizing time adults spend collaborating for students. It's working out great. The leadership team is now working on what kind of data to collect to make sure these specific actions are working within Estacado Middle School. So it's exciting to see that one of Principal Hargrave's plans is just moving throughout his organization over there at the middle school. The next thing is actually supposed to be for Jason, so I am going to do my best to communicate this.
I think it's important to point out too that Jason, in our commitment to service, is currently working with a family who is struggling through some of the special education services, and we're working hard to support that. So,
Right.
Jason's absence is because we're here to serve families.
Right. Jason's identified some data measures to know what actions are working. So they've implemented a new form. I unfortunately don't have his drafts with me right now, but he's implemented a new form where his learning specialists are recording the attendance and the whereabouts of the students, the many students who are being served by special education and throughout our district. So he has them on a daily basis. They're recording this information and then he's getting a week-long update. And we've been doing it for 4 weeks now. First week was a little lax. They were learning the new system. But now that they've been doing it, on the average, out of his 13 specialists, 7 of them have reported that all of their students that are on their caseloads, which can be 25 to 35 students each, are hitting that 80% in the gen ed classrooms. He has a lot of different areas they have to hit. Some students only have to be required 49% of the time. Those students are also hitting almost 100% in gen ed classrooms. So across the board, this real-time data that we're collecting is allowing Jason to make sure, do the deep dive with his learning specialists to make sure those kiddos are taken care of and that we're hitting their needs. Those who aren't hitting that, he's now having conversations daily with his learning specialists to see what we can do to get those kiddos going and what they need to do. So, does anybody have any questions on that one?
No,
Okay.
but Ryan, maybe you could answer this. I think that some form of that was already implemented in the prior year where he was identifying where those were needed or if there was enhancement needed to get to the 80%. And it was something that was already being documented. Maybe there's a change in the process or
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Director Johnson. And what we're really trying to do is create more real-time leading data. So the data that we've been going off of when it comes to time access in the general education classroom comes from the Oregon Department of Education report that we have to throw out there quarterly. And so we were always kind of using quarterly data, and we just felt like that gap was too long. And so really what we're trying to do is make sure that, and it's not that the school district is trying to put every single kid 100% of the time into the classroom. We're trying to do when they're ready, right? We want kids in that general education classroom to the max extent that the child is ready for. And so in order for us to have that conversation and to make improvements and adjustments, we want to start going on a week-to-week basis so we can ask more why questions as to what's best for the child, what's best for the family, and the readiness of that classroom. And so that's the purpose of the weekly adjustment.
Thanks, and I think you did a wonderful job, Lisa, explaining the next 30 days.
Thank you.
Another question, Lisa, on that is I know it shows the co-curricular data is being collected at this time. So do we have any initial indicators of what that's looking like as far as representing the population of the school?
I know Jason had reports to share tonight. Unfortunately, I don't have them here with me. But they are running weekly reports, especially now that fall sports have kicked in and extracurricular co-curriculars have kicked in. So he'll probably have that data to share at the board meeting on the 20th.
If we could get that sent out to this group at least before that would be super, so that we can be prepared to answer questions to the other board members. I appreciate that as well.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're just going to move on to the next 30 days. As far as data collection is going, we are intentionally asking for data during rounding sessions now. That was one of the things that Kelly and I, as pillar leaders, have realized that a lot of our stuff isn't associated with numbers. And so now as we're rounding with the leaders, when we say, what's your evidence, we're actually having them show us their evidence so we can, see it's not, I feel like, I think something, we're going to actually start collecting some hard data so we can see what's working. The pulse surveys that, rounding is great, but, what's the outcome of that rounding? Where is it going? And so we're being more intentional with grabbing that data and really, really looking at it. Recommitting to our rounding schedules. School started and wow, did it start. So we're now recommitted to those schedules and we're holding everyone to them. And so with our 14 leaders, we're at least rounding with several of them throughout the week. So we try to hit them at least monthly. Some of them we're hitting bi-weekly. So there'll be a lot more data coming our way.
Okay, and then as I mentioned earlier, we have our 90-day rollout, which is exciting. It's a close of our 90-day cycle. And so at that meeting, the leadership team will come together and roll out this data that we've received back and kind of where we're at. We'll take a pulse check. Of course, we'll celebrate our wins and the things that are working well. And then we'll work with our teams to make adjustments to the plans and what we want to do. So that's where we'll kind of decide what are the things that we have the data and evidence to know that are really helping us and wanting us to propel to move forward. So for example, is the example of Ben providing collaboration time and really setting a schedule for adults to maximize time collaborating about students. Is that really making a difference? Does that evidence show it's working? And is that something we want to continue to do? And does he need to continue to monitor that? Or is it something now that's not going to become an always action? And that will be a great day for us to have time to collaborate together across all of our strategic action plans and decide on those things. That'll be the week of the 19th, and I know that we look forward to getting back to this committee with what comes out of that. And we also look for any advice and input from this committee here as to where we can really go next, what other information that we can provide, and how we can better use this time.
One question, when we look at the next 30 days and intentionally asking for data, I appreciate that. I know we talked before, but it got a little anecdotal at times. So can you give examples of those specific things that you're asking so we can kind of get a flavor for what that
Sure, like our operations department is planning on putting out a quarterly SMORE, so a quarterly newsletter. They feel that that's going to help open the communication across to parents, to students, to staff. And so what we're asking them to do is, okay, send it out. What are your clicks? What are your ticks? How many people really opened it up? And then going forward, looking and seeing, like Kelly was just explaining, does that really do anything? Was it just information, or was it just soft information, or was it good hard information that is actually helping people? So we want to take it to that next level. That makes sense? Okay.
On top of that, because this is, as we get better at continuous improvement, this is one of the areas where we as leaders just need to grow collectively in this. And as we know, our improvement as an organization has been in building good goals. This is really the first time I feel like our goals have been towards meaningful movement and stretch. And again, Chair Idell, you've helped us in terms of building those metrics in terms of how we can determine what's meaningful movement or not. I think still we're a little bit lagging in what is the right leading data to help us determine if our change agent is actually making the adjustment that we desire. And by the way, it's okay if it's not. That data should tell us if it's not also, which allows us to make a quicker adjustment so that we can move in that right direction. And so, what's cool about this 90-day rollout is this is really the culmination of our winter to winter or fall to fall report card that we've been working on. So this is going to conclude that annual report card. And so as we build that next report card, it's my hopes as an organization that as we build these better goals, we're now going to make it a step forward with determining what's the right data that we can report simply, because we need it to be simple, quick, and easy, but still at the same time be able to have that conversation around data different than anecdotal. And as we work in this improvement work, that's an area that we as an organization need to improve. And it's our hopes that we're going to be able to push us to that next level. Great question.
Ryan and team, I'll just say that, in my current position, working with partnerships across the country, we're also trying to provide some leading and lagging indicators, and we're not right all the time. It takes a long time sometimes you get lucky, but it also often changes over time depending on what's important to the community as well as the staff. So, continuing the effort to find that metric. There's not one golden bullet, but making sure that you're continuing to look is an important thing. So thank you for the effort there.
Just one more level on that as well as appreciate, right, that fail fast, right? So continue to push, continue to find, but also recognizing that sometimes we just need a little bit longer to see if that is having the impact we want it to have. I think at times we get so caught up in moving quickly that we may abandon something that is working. We just aren't seeing the results of it yet. So balancing that as well is a challenge that I just want to continue to be aware of. Okay, so any other comments, feedback for the pillar leaders on what they've given us today?
None for me. Thank you, Chair Rada.
I hope that in the board meeting a week from now, we'll be able to share some unofficial numbers of all results from the employee engagement service and student engagement survey. So I would anticipate some unofficial results at the district-wide level for the next school board meeting. And then in the next pillar meeting, I think we should be prepared to have a deeper dive in terms of what those numbers looks like, so that at the district levels, we talk about the district level scorecard, this team should be able to have a meaningful conversation about what next scorecard's goal should look like at the district level.
Thank you. And it looks like Mr. Hobson has joined the group. So Jason, Lisa did a great job of covering your portion. Thank you for all the out there. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add. We're kind of at the end here, but would love your input as well if you have something you want to share.
Ooh, that's a tough question, not knowing exactly how my colleague responded earlier, but I'm sure it was great. Thank you for the grace here. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, you know, you guys probably already talked about it, but we have some preliminary, the student engagement results are coming in. We did roll out a more inclusive real-time survey. I did run one report today just for fun based on our current IEPs. At the elementary level, 94.7% of students are spending time in the gen ed setting, receiving their services. So the goal was 80% right now. Based on the IEPs, it's 94.7%. So that's really exciting. And then I know that the co-curricular data is being entered and is updated for several of at the high school and at the middle school. So that will be fun to dig into too.
So thank you.
Jason, one of the things they asked for is if we would have some numbers possibly on that co-curricular stuff soon, so that we could get to them before the board meeting if possible.
Yes, yes. The simple answer is yes.
Perfect. I like simple answers. Simple answers are good.
Yes.
All right. So any other questions, feedback from the committee for the pillar leaders? All right. So we have on the agenda public comment and questions, but I don't know, do we have that functionality right now?
No.
We do not, but at this time, there are none. I would like to maybe propose to not only this committee, but all committee, and I apologize for the surprise, but it may be wise of us to try to potentially seek out or recruit a couple of parents and or community members to also be a part of this committee, so that we can just get some joint community participation in this work as well. And so, you know, as I think it's just on the agenda, but for the good of the order, that's one thing I'd like us as an organization to try to tackle, is to see if we might be able to engage some stakeholders outside of the school district to help us as we execute this.
Great idea. Absolutely. So, yeah. Let's do it as far as I'm concerned. I see some of my thoughts. I think we're kind of in agreement there. So who takes that on? Ryan, who owns that portion?
The district will collectively, but between Jason, Lisa, Kelly, and myself, we'll pick those who have a particular passion in this specific strand, and there are several engaged community members who can help us with that.
So we had that good of the order. Anything else for the good of the group before we move on to item H, which is the next meeting schedule? Silence is approval. Next meeting is scheduled for November 8th. Does that work for everybody here today?
You said the 8th, correct?
The 8th, yes.
It should be the Monday of the board meeting week. So if it, let's let us know what your calendars do. And is virtual still okay, or did you want to move this inside? Want to remain virtual? Okay.
It does work.
Okay. Perfect. We'll send out an invite.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay. And that's it. I think that's it. Anything else for the good of the group? Otherwise, we will adjourn at 4:36. Thank you for the updates. Thank you for the work that you are all doing to create an inclusive culture within our district. It's obviously making a difference and showing. So very, very much appreciated all the work you guys are doing, and just happy to be a part of it. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting, and we will, if we don't see you before, we'll see you on November 8th. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.